everyone, and welcome to today's interview. Today I'll be talking to one of the best-selling authors, a mental trainer working with over 100 people across the Do you know how I practice? Oh my gosh. Okay. Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking to one of the best-selling authors. She's a mental trainer working with thousands of people across the globe, and she's a total crypto nerd and a happy camper. Welcome, Ihren Abrahamsson.
Well, thank you very much, Kimberly. Great to be here.
Thank you for being here. So today we're going to be talking about how to profit from the digital world, the digital revolution that we're all seeing it out here, and how to create passive income, because I think a lot of people tend to be confused about that. So can we start off by, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself before we get started?
Yes, of course. Well, I guess in one way I've always been a multipreneur. I think I've had like 50 different jobs, and I understood fairly early that the regular job was not for me. So I've only now, of course, I want to think that I'm still 22, which I'm not, but I've only had one job actually where I've been employed on a contract. So I've always been looking for other ways. And the thing for me has always been that I've always wanted the freedom. So this is why I have been very busy with all kinds of things, trying to, make things come together. Because obviously, if you have a set job, you know exactly what you get and the end of the month, etc., etc. So it took me actually many years to start to understand that if I'm going to change the financial situation, I will also have to change something in here. So I guess I have actually, ever since I was 10 years old, that's when I decided I'm going to write books. And it took me quite many years to actually get to the point where I did it and fulfilled that. So I am an author. I've also been doing quite a lot of different courses, doing a lot of mental training, obviously because I definitely needed it myself. And sorry. And then about 3 years ago, that's when I came across cryptocurrency for the first time. And it was a friend of mine who called me, and I could hear it instantly. And he said, "You just have to listen to this." And since, of course, he's a very good friend of mine, and I decided to listen. I didn't understand really what he was talking about. I didn't understand it at all. But it was something inside of me where I just felt, wow, this is important. And it definitely has to do with the technology today, the development, and I am not a high-tech person at all. Actually, I remember when I got my first computer, someone just stuck it in my hands and said, "Take it. I'm throwing it away," And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I started playing around with it, and it was actually fun. And it was the same thing with the first smartphone. Hey, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to give it away. Do you want it? And I remember that I put my SIM card in it. And I was actually, at the time, I was living in another city. So I was going to get on a bus. And I was sitting there, it's like, I have no clue how to even open my phone, I didn't know how to call anyone. Of course, you figure things out. And so I guess that's really the start. But what I can also mention, I've always loved to work with people. I'm also a yoga teacher. I've been working in prison. I've been working as a therapist. I've been a farmer, I've tried so many things, and I'm very glad to have a lot of experience. I am actually also a carpenter, but I have all my fingers, so many people don't believe me. But I guess mainly what I do have is I need to have a passion for what I do. So I guess that's the short version to where I landed at this moment.
That's so amazing. Well, I didn't know you were a carpenter. That's something I'm learning today as well. That's fantastic because it seems like you've had like a wide experience with a lot of things in your life, But how did you come across passive income, or even like to even start understanding passive income? Because that's like one of the things that I only came across it when a few years back. The whole concept of passive income. And I don't think people really understand what it is. How did you come across it, and how would you describe passive income?
Yeah, well, I think there are a lot of misunderstanding because people have been using it in settings where I wouldn't say that it is a passive income. For me, a passive income is that you have done some sort of a job that means that money will keep ticking in. And one thing for me was to write books. Now, obviously, I still needed to write the book. So, of course, it costed me energy and effort and all those things. But once the book is done, it's published, it's out there, the money is ticking in. Mm-hmm. But of course, you have done some groundwork, first of all. And I know also, a lot of people who are working with MLMs, networks, like Herbalife or New Skin or Amway, etc. And many of them are talking about a passive income. And to me, that's not really the right explanation of it. I think it's actually, because even if you want to get to the point where some money is ticking in, it's still a lot of work to get there. So I think, for example, writing books, or maybe having an online course where you do the work, you put it up online and people can download it and buy it anytime. That for me is a passive income because you've done something, you put it out there, but it's not like you're, going to work for it anymore. Mm. So if that makes sense.
I totally agree, because I think the concept of passive income, people think is like almost like a get rich quick scheme, where, how can I get money as quickly as possible, with the least amount of work. And I think that's being sort of put out there. I don't know by who, or by the gurus or whoever it is. And I think people get caught up in that. And they feel like, you mentioned hard work. I love the fact that you mentioned that, because it all comes with work. And I think people tend to not really think about that, So, in terms of passive incomes, you've mentioned, writing books. You've mentioned quite a few things. What would you say is your passive income earner at the moment?
Well, what I do right now is that I am working with cryptocurrency. And I think a lot of people maybe they haven't heard about cryptocurrency, but they have perhaps heard of Bitcoin. And this is a completely new technology. Well, completely new. The history is 9 years, so it's not brand new, but it's also not old at all. Mm-hmm. And I think that many people are still about to learn what it is. And I have come across a way where you can actually set yourself up for a passive income. And I want to go into a couple of things when it comes to that as well, because when we're mentioning work, for example, I put a lot of energy into my book. I write it, I publish it, I do all those things. And then I publish it, put it out there, people can buy it. It's a passive income. Mm-hmm. But it could also be things like, changing your mind about certain things. Mm-hmm. It could also be, that you're actually doing some sort of a personal development. I actually see that as part of what mm-hmm. we're doing. Because I can actually go back a little bit to why I even came across passive income, because that's not something that I was, brought up with at all. As a matter of fact, I think many of us are brought up with a feeling that we can't afford it. This is not, that we have a whole bunch of funny ideas about what money is and whether we can have it or not. And what I realized was that if I am going to have some sort of this freedom that I'm asking for, of course I have to start doing something than going to that job. And I realized that the big thing for me was really to change my mind, or even to open my mind and to see it is actually possible. Because so many people out there, they haven't even been thinking about it. They still have an idea that if I want to earn more money, I will have to work more. And that's why they say no instantly. So I actually see that as one part of the work that you're talking about, that how are we dealing with our own emotions? Are we willing to do those things that are uncomfortable to actually get somewhere? Because it has been a huge ride for me to be able to change the idea of I can't afford it to, of course, and if I don't have the money, how can I find it? Instead of saying I can't afford it. But anyways, that was just a little thing that I wanted to add to it, because I think it's so important. And now, looking at this new technology of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, I definitely see this as a complete revolution. We're revolutioning. We are creating a revolution in so many areas right now with this new technology. And you know, like, let's say, for example, the Google stock or the Apple stock. Everyone who had it at an early stage will, of course, get the value increase and earn good money from it. And I think that that's exactly where we are right now with cryptocurrency as well, because once you understand the technology, once you understand the growth potential of this, you get that's when you become the nerd. You know, you just go wild and you want to learn everything. Actually, I must say, for the last 3 years, I'm just becoming more and more and more excited, because I realize that I'm still have so much to learn, and it's so much fun to bring this information out to people and actually show them a way that if you are willing to stop, take in this information, and you know, you can really do something about it. And to have something and to be able to offer something to people where you don't have to work, you don't have to, you know, enroll people, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. But what you do is to at least join in one of these mining pools to see that your coins are ticking in on a daily basis. And to me, that's mind-blowing, because you also mentioned it a little bit earlier. There are a lot of companies out there that are promising way, way, way too much. And I think that's also one of the reasons why it's so important to show people exactly where this passive income is actually coming from.
And how would you advise people? I mean, because a lot of people, and you know, a lot of people reach out to me, and you know, they've been involved in Ponzi schemes, and there's so much out there, and there's so much confusion. It's like a hotbed of confusion. You've got some people who understand cryptocurrency and understand it, but there's some people that just don't know, and they get caught up in this and lose a lot of money. Sorry, my internet was unstable there for a minute. So a lot of people lose a lot of money. And so how would you, I mean, what would you suggest that they do before going into any type of investment? Because it's an investment, isn't it, really? You're investing, whether you're investing your time, your money, whatever it is, it's a type of investment. What would you suggest people do? Like, what tips can you give?
Yeah, that's a lot of very good points you're bringing up there, because obviously people have tried, and most people don't like to fail. I can say immediately that I have done some really bad investments in my life. But at the same time, I think that's also where the self-development comes in. I can either sit here and hold on to that old experience where I lost everything and I felt terrible, or I can actually try to relax and see it. Can I take this as an experience? What can I learn from this? And that's actually why one of the points is really, are you doing self-development? Are you aware of how you are reacting to certain things? Are you aware of your emotions? Can you deal with your emotions? Because, you know, I spoke to a lady, and she's like around the 60. And when I started talking about cryptocurrency, she was like, she was completely sure that this was the biggest pyramid scheme she had ever heard of. She didn't want to hear it. And so one day, but she was also criticizing it every time I was talking to her. And I said one day, you know what, that's fine if you don't want to do this. I mean, I'm not trying to convince you or anything. But every time we meet, you have to bring up the negative things that you feel. And to me, that's not fair. I could say to you, oh, how can you work at that job still? That's terrible. I would never do that. So when I told her to stop, she had a shift actually. And she told me a story where her, I think it was her mother or mother-in-law, I can't remember now, but it was someone, the older generation, that about 45 years ago were tricked into something where they lost money. And I think it's so interesting to see that this is really where the problem was for this lady. And we were talking about it, and I said, yeah, I mean, everyone has lost something really in life, you know. And even the people who are not taking risks, they're the big losers because they're not moving forward in any way. So when we talked about that, I could really see that something clicked inside of her, and she's like, my goodness, I'm holding on to something that happened to someone else 45 years ago. It's crazy. And that's why I ask people questions. So first of all, I think, I mean, the personal development is key. I would say it's key in everything, really, everything that we do.
Yeah.
When someone say, I know myself, I know exactly, then I go, are you sure? It must be kind of boring because you won't have much to learn, you know. And I think that's really, if we can get excited about that, we still have so much to learn about ourselves and also what we can achieve. Because 3.5 years ago, I would never have dreamt of having the situation or the life situation that I have today. But it has also been a lot of work, and I've learned, or at least I'm better at, you know, handling my emotions. Because of course, I also meet people who are extremely critical to cryptocurrency, and they think it's all terrible and all those things. And it's like, and it's okay. I mean, not everyone can love what you do, of course. So it's also about handling not only yourself, but also handling other people. And in one way, because I think we are extremely influenced by who we're around, etc. So I think that's the number one, the personal development. The second one is, if you stop and take a look at your life today, are you content? Or do you wish that you had, I don't know, this can be anything from $100, £100 to $1,000 to $10,000 more a month. We're all individuals. We all have different dreams and goals. But if you are not content, the thing is, or the key is really, then you're going to have to change something. Because if you knew exactly what to do, you would be there already. And when you're not there, obviously, there are things that you can change in your life. And this is also when it comes into, you know, is it your mindset? I mean, do you have an open mind for new things? Are you looking for opportunities? Your belief system. Some people, they don't even believe that passive income is it's possible. They think that you need to work so hard for every single cent, you know. But maybe you need to work smart instead. Are you around the right type of people? Think different. I think that's really one of the other things that is key. That and then of course to ask yourself, what am I willing to change in order to get to that other place that I think is so much better, you know? So I would also say that, because number 3 is actually very tightly connected to this, and that is, who are you asking for advice? Because when I am doing speaking engagements and stuff, I always, it's just a silly joke, but I think a lot of people need to break it down to a very easy thing to actually understand it. So let's say that you have problem with your teeth. What do?
Go to the dentist.
Exactly. You don't go to cut your hair. And people go, yeah, but that's obvious, isn't it? Yeah, of course it's obvious. However, think about, who are you asking for advice? Because what most of us do, we go home, we ask our closest friends, our moms, our dads, our partners, or people who we think have the knowledge. But most of us, we don't bother to ask, do you know anything about this? And this has been a really interesting ride for me for the last 3 years, because obviously I was so excited and I realized I need to learn everything about cryptocurrency. So as soon as I met someone who was into economy or investment or a banker, I would just attack them like, hey, tell me your point of view. And they would go, oh, what's cryptocurrency? It's like, okay.
A mini freak out.
Exactly. And it's like, and I think a lot of people still go into that trap. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to ask my banker. But most bankers don't even know. I actually, for the last 3 years, I've helped and educated quite a few bankers what cryptocurrency is and how you can benefit from it. And I am not a banker. I don't have any PhD in any economy course or whatever. So, and I must also say, the cool thing with that is 4 years ago, if I met a huge, big investor or someone who had a lot of money or a lot of experience, I would feel very small. But what I came to the conclusion that, holy smoke, there's so many people out there that don't know what cryptocurrency is. So I would just ask these guys, okay, so yeah, I'm working with cryptocurrency. Do you know anything about it? And most of them actually do say no. And I think it's really the most successful people who have the guts to say, no, I don't know. I mean, it's the reason why they are successful, because they're also open. They can just lay down flat and say, wow, I don't know anything about that. Can you teach me? Or can you show me a couple of things? And in that process, of course, I have also grown as a person, because I realized that, we're so caught up with these diplomas, and I know this and I know that. And of course, we have to be cautious when it comes to things like that as well, because, who are you asking for advice? People with knowledge. Because you also mentioned scams, etc. out there. And I think that when people are extremely fired up by something and it's like, woohoo, this is awesome, this is so good, it's very easy to believe that they have all the knowledge.
Sorry, Irene. I lost you briefly.
Okay.
Oh my! I'm not sure if this is my internet.
I think so.
Is it me? Am I cutting in and out?
Yeah.
Damn it! Oh my god!
No, don't worry. When did you lose me?
It should be fine. I don't know. It cut momentarily. You were saying something. I'm going to have a look at it. Obviously, when I'm chopping and changing, and make sure that So sorry, you were saying.
But I can just go back to the part where that we ask the right type of people. First of all, what do you know about this? And what would you advise me? Because I've taken a lot of advices from people who don't know what they're talking about. Actually, my favorite joke is, for many years I was asking my single friends for dating tips. It's just, but I think we need to sometimes just stop and think about, it sounds ridiculous, obviously, but it's with your friends and your family that you feel safe. So this is why it's so natural to ask these people the questions. Yeah. So it's human nature, really. But what I wanted to say, that when you meet someone who's fired up and because you mentioned scams out there, for example. I mean, obviously, I don't think that most people are not, evil, and they think, yeah, I'm going to get all your money, etc., etc. I think it's actually a lack of knowledge. We have to be willing. I mean, if we have not been involved with economy, we have also be willing to understand some basic things. And I think so really, actually, I can say the fourth thing is, of course, to do your own research. So we meet people who are all fired up, and I must say a little bit of, you have to be cautious with certain things. And I hear people who have jumped on one project and then the next project and then the next project, and they have lost money. Nothing has really came out of it. So one of the things is obviously that a YouTube clip is not good enough for me when people are saying, yeah, this is so good, and listen, or a flashy presentation. I wouldn't say that, yeah, but my friend is getting their money out, that's not good enough either, because what I want to see is this sustainable? What is the long-term aspect of something? Because that's really how you build something over time. So when you see these scams with 10%, 15%, or even 1% a day, I mean, think about it. It's 30% in 1 month. Do you know how much that is in a year? It's just not sustainable. And I think that for those of us who are not financially educated, if we can just wake up to those things, we can also be a little bit clearer in the jungle of all the opportunities out there. So for me, that has been a huge lesson. And this is also why my core thing is really to educate people, because I have no intention whatsoever to convince someone that what I do is the best, because I have plenty of people to work with as well. Anyways, I don't need more people. But what I do love is to see how people actually sit down and make up their mind that I want to understand, and then I can make a decision. And that's also what's, of course, something that is very, very close to my heart, and that's also to work with women. Because in so many parts of the world, the woman, she doesn't have the same position. It's not as easy to earn good money, for example. And to see how women who are so dependent in certain situations actually can step up and take ownership of their own economy and grow as women. I mean, it's just no doubt that women is the future. And I think that if we can support each other, help each other, we use each other's strengths, we can create so much more. And that is really a huge, huge deal with what I want to accomplish as well. This, of course, doesn't mean that I'm only working with women, but it is definitely one of my key things. So this fourth thing is really, you have to do your own research. You have to take a look at information from both sides. You need to talk to people who can help you understand, I guess. And also, I think that, just because a company has a license or something, that's another thing. You still would need to have some proof for certain things, because a lot of people there are very clever and they can set up all kinds of things. And you can actually buy a license today. You can buy pretty much anything. So be cautious and try to just think clearly, is it possible to earn this money? And the cool thing with that is also, when I look at cryptocurrency, I always tell people that I cannot tell you exactly what you will be earning tomorrow, because no one can, because no one knows the future. What I can tell you, though, is how what I do is built up. I can show you exactly where the money is coming from, and we can show the track record of what has been going on for the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So there's certain basic things that I would never have thought about 4 years ago. And I would also have been very glad if someone came and said, hey, free money for everyone. And, you know, instead of taking that leap and believing in myself and thinking that I could actually change my own situation, I would like hope for that big bag of gold and money to drop right in front of me. And I would go, oh, I'm rich, you know. But it's just I don't think people are content when this happens. It's like, yeah, I won on the lottery. And then the year after, you are so much in debt because you haven't learned how to deal with money. So there's so many interesting aspects to this with the self-development. And that's really what I think I also want to put my focus into, to help people. Yeah, but you know, what's your wage today? Where would you like to go? What are you willing to change? And things like that. And then, of course, the fifth thing I also want to bring up is always, always, always learn more. You know, because when we sit there and say, yeah, I know, that's when we're closing the door for all the possibilities. And I've been opening the door for the passive income for a long time. And this is also why I truly believe that if you want to change, you're going to have to, you know, almost change your skin as well. Get out of the old skin and jump into something new. But learning more, it's also so fascinating. Find something that you love and really, and to me it's like a love story. Because being a multipreneur, you have to have a drive of that something is fun. Otherwise, it will be difficult to do it. You will not step out of the comfort zone. You will not start to do these things that are uncomfortable. And of course, in the beginning, like I said, I didn't understand cryptocurrency at all. I had no clue what my friend was talking about. But I knew there was something there that I wanted to get a hold of. And on and on and on, I've been learning more and more and more. So, yeah, so those 5 things are definitely key, I would say.
Yeah, and I think the one that resonates, I mean, mindset is a really important one, you know, obviously really developing your own mind is really important. But the one that I love the most that you spoke about is doing your own research, you know, because I see a lot of people jumping into so many things, done no research. And actually asking for advice is very important one, asking the right people for the advice, you know, that's super important. Now, you've talked about different ways, and I know we talked a little bit more about cryptocurrency because that's what you're currently doing, and it's amazing. And you know, you talked about books, online courses, crypto. Are there any other things that you can add that people can actually profit from in the digital revolution?
Well, those are mainly the areas where I have been involved.
Okay.
You know, selling books, courses, you know, things that is doing the work itself. Once the basic work is done, you put it out there and it starts ticking. Unless, you know, whatever, some web page is coming down or, you know. But those are the things that I am involved with today. And I'm sure there are plenty of other opportunities. And there are more opportunities to come. Because one more thing is also the reason why I also want people, whether they have a lot of money or no money, or because I just want people to think about that the world is constantly changing. For example, when I released my first book, people were still reading books. And then I think it was like 2 years later, we had a revolution and everybody wanted to read ebooks and on these, you know, like an iPad or something. And obviously that changed the whole industry. If we look at cameras, for example, I remember when we were having these cameras with you have to put it in and the film, and you have to be careful when you took it out. And now it's like you can take thousands of pictures and you can instantly look, oh, that wasn't so good. No, that wasn't so good. And things are happening the whole time. And I think now I was raised in Scandinavia, and yeah, I mean, we've been very fortunate when it comes to pension and stuff like that. But really, I don't rely on that I will get a pension when it's time for that. And I think also, the banks, we have a minus interest rate right now. I mean, you don't even earn anything by saving your money somewhere, and they're actually using your money. And this is also why I think it's completely, it's just so mind-blowing to see the huge changes we see in the financial area. And I think this is also one of the reasons why I just want to wake people up. Yeah. They don't have to get into the passive income if they don't want to, but I always tell them, make sure that you learn something about it for your own sake. Because that's also, the world will also keep changing. So who knows? In 20 years, maybe we're not working, maybe we're, I don't know, beaming ourselves somewhere. Who knows? But
into your spotlight right above you.
Exactly, yeah, it really looks like I'm a UFO thing. My beamer. Yeah. So, yeah, and also be curious about things. And I think human nature is, of course, also that we are extremely, well, maybe lazy is not the right word, but if something is working, we keep doing that until it's not working, and then until it's not working at all. That's when you realize, oh crap, I need to do a change, and I need to do it now. So I think the more curious we can be and a little bit more open to things, and that's when it's easy to come in with all these excuses. Yeah, but I have 2 children. Yeah, but I have a farm. I have this, I have that. Yeah, but everyone has something. The question is, how much are you willing to change for you to change the situation? Because, some people have illnesses. I met a lady, she had 8 freaking kids. She moved to another country and started her own business. 8 kids. So I just say, I can be pretty direct, but people, don't blame your kids, don't blame your spouse, don't blame whoever. It's really about you. And this is also the community that I hope that people feel that, you're so right, but help me, because we need help in those situations. Because I think it's a natural thing that we're not aware all the time. And when I blame something, I want someone to kick my leg and say, hey, what are you doing? And this is also something that we do in this community, where we're having fun. We actually care about people. So by, helping people grow, you can also grow in the financial area, for example.
Absolutely. And it's you're so right. It's important, getting help and really just being understanding of, stepping out the comfort zone, because we're too comfortable. Now, say someone wanted to get started, because this is always a thing I hear, and it's not specific to passive income, but it's a general thing I hear out there. People want to, buy a coaching course. People want to go and see an event. People want to do all these things. They want to invest in cryptocurrency. They want to do all these things, but they don't have the money. How? And, and sometimes there are ways that people can make money, but then there'll be times where they literally can't. There's just literally no money. They can't borrow money from anyone, or whatever the story is. Now, what do they do? Can you give us like a tip, maybe 1 or 2 tips where they can say, well, I mean, I've given tips before, but I would want to hear from you, your perspective of like, what would you suggest that someone does?
Well, that is a very good question. And I think the most powerful thing that comes up for me is, first of all, I think that if it's something that we really, really, really want to do, we always find the money. We always find the money. And this is why I think when someone is constantly blaming that they don't have money, what I would first of all say that, well, if you keep saying that, you will never find money for anything. Because we're limiting ourselves, we're limiting our abilities in so many ways. And it's so sad to see. And then I hear people go, yeah, but that's easy for you to say. No, I've been in the same situation. Until I came to a point when I was so fed up of being broke. So what I did, I went to a course or a conference really for a whole week with extremely influential people. And I actually inherited money, and I took all that money. It was a lot of money. And I put it into this because I knew that this will help me shift. And it actually did. Mm-hmm. And I'm in contact with quite a few of those people still. They're very influential. And that was a big leap for me, because I decided to say, it's not about the money. It's about me. Because what I also learned there was that I can do so much more than I think. And I think that's the key in when we say, I don't have the money. And I also tell people, okay, but is this really something that you really want to do? Yeah, I do. Okay. But start to ask yourself, where do I find the money? Yeah. Where do I find the money? Because, I meet people they wouldn't pay 10 cents for self-development, but if they find a huge, awesome music system for their car, they could pay 20,000 pounds, So it's all about, what is it really that you want? Because if you really want to do something, the money will be there. But you also have to challenge your way of expressing yourself. So I try to do, these exercises with gratitude. I mean, we forget about all the beautiful things that we can be grateful about, because, I spoke to a friend yesterday, and it's so easy to, oh shit, my body's hurting. Mm. We don't ask, okay, my body's trying to, what do you want to say to me, my dear body? Instead we say, what do you hurt again? So instead of getting angry, which is not going to make things better, we can add, okay, my back is hurting, but at least I have two functioning hands. I can see perfectly. I have beautiful neighbors. I have a beautiful person that I can work with. And just simple things like that. I have a roof over my head. I can eat every day. Because when we start to take those small steps over time, we also start to change what we are focusing on. Yeah. And in the long run, I think that is also connected to, I can't afford it. It's like, I can afford anything I want. That's what I'm telling myself. So it's really about asking, where do I find the money?
Yeah. That's a very powerful question, because I think it's immediately when it comes to money or spending stuff, people immediately say, I don't have it. Instead of thinking, okay, I want to do this thing. I'm really interested in this thing. I might not have the money right now. It's like, right, so where do I find it? How? Because if you call money, it comes, right? It's just one of those things. It's just, and I think money mindset is very, very important. And we are going to be speaking about this in a different interview, but it is a very important topic that you touched on. And gratitude, that's one thing, because it changes your vibration, doesn't it?
It really does. And I have a cool example as well, because I spoke to a friend of mine, and she's into real estate. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about what I'm doing to create a passive income, and she's like, no, she didn't have any money. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, so the property that you bought for 100,000, how much return do you have on a monthly basis? And we started talking about this, and then we just compared. And apparently, I had the same return on something for 10,000 than she had for her property for 100,000.
Wow.
And when she realized that, okay, I'll get back to you tomorrow. All of a sudden, she knew that she could find the money.
Yeah.
So it's really about understanding. And I can just add a quick thing here. Because when I talk to a lot of people and they say, they want to learn more about Bitcoin, and they say, it's too late to get into Bitcoin because it's worth so much. I personally think we're still in the beginning. Yeah. But the reason why I think so is because I understand the technology. And people who do not understand the technology, they think it's completely crazy to think that one Bitcoin could be worth $50,000. Yeah. So this is why, once again, I just want to mention that people need to learn and they need to understand certain things, because when they do, that's when it will also make sense. So that's just also an important thing
I guess with passive income, education is key. Knowing exactly, doing your research, and really changing the old mindset. Because obviously, you know, what our parents taught us and how we were taught to think is completely different now, because we're in the digital age. Like you said, you know, it's the digital revolution. So it's about profiting in this age. And I think, you know, you mentioned pensions, and I think, and I'm not sure what it's like for other countries, but for the UK, it's very scary. It's a scary situation, and you know, we don't really know where we are going to be with our pensions. And I think with the passive income and looking at the digital age, I think it's quite important to start looking at different avenues. And you know, I was looking at your books. Speaking of which, because I've got them here. Mm-hmm. So if anyone hasn't got these books, go out. And I'll probably put a link in there somewhere, you know, and you can read some of Irene's books, you know, because she's got amazing books out there. But, you know, these are the types of things that bring passive income. Irene makes money via her books, via cryptocurrency, via online courses. So there's so many different things that people can do. I think people get stumped in the beginning because it's hard work, right? So it's like, if I have to write a book, I have to spend hours in. You know, and I'm being guilty of procrastinating because I'm supposed to be writing my book, haven't done it, but been procrastinating. But I totally understand. You know, it's one of those things where you have to step outside your comfort zone to do. And it's the same thing with online courses. I've got an online course, and you know, I'm doing the crypto stuff with the lovely Irene, and you know, it's I don't know anything. You know, but I'm willing to learn, and it's all about learning, and you know, and learning from people that know. So I think it's important to actually work with people who you enjoy working with, right? You know, and I see you as an expert, and this is your field, and and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to speak to you about it, because you are doing amazing things out there, and it's a power women, right? And I'm loving the fact that you're empowering women out there, and you know, to go and do amazing stuff, you know. So it's a complete pleasure speaking with you. But anything else you'd like to add to us novices in passive income?
No, I guess, you know, it's something that needs to attract people for them to actually do something about it. So if it feels attractive to you, if you want to learn more, I would be more than glad to invite you. You can learn more about what I do. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. But, and especially then the heart warmer, ladies. If you feel like you would like to have a forum where you can work together with other women and share with whatever you can, that's also really something that I enjoy. And it doesn't mean that you have to become an expert or anything. And I think also one more thing that I want to add to, when you look at the digital revolution going on out there, we also know that we don't have all the time forever to make use out of it. And this can also be something that can stress people out. And I think that, you know, take your time and do your own research and get a sense for the potential of it. You know, maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, but I want people to at least know that it's a lot going on out there, and you can definitely be part of it if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, knowledge is power. It's all about knowing. And I think, you know, but I would say though, don't get overwhelmed, you know, because there is a tendency of, you know, analysis paralysis, like analyzing stuff, you know, and then you just end up going around in circles. So, you know, ask the right questions. Like Irene says, you know, look at your personal development side, look at who you're asking advice from. You know, if you're asking the right questions to the wrong people, you're not going to get the right answers, right? You're going to be hearing it from, you know, not exactly the right people. And like Irene said, do your research. And I think that's key, you know, do your research. And then the thing that we all don't do, and the thing I keep talking about, take action. So
yes, that is a very good ending of the whole thing, because I think so many people out there, they get stuck because they don't take the first step, or they think they're going to be experts before they do anything. And I wouldn't recommend that to anyone, because no one is going to expect you to be perfect, to do everything perfect. And keep in mind, failure is part of the game. If you are not willing to fail, you will get nowhere in life, because you're going to be so afraid to fail. Obviously, it's going to stop you. So, you know, sometimes I go out there and I say the wrong things, but I'm a human being, you know, and I really hope that people can feel that this field is definitely for anyone who is willing to learn. Actually, I spoke to another colleague of mine, and he was going to have a business meeting on a Zoom call. And apparently this lady, she was expecting this extremely well-dressed man in a suit and a tie, and you know, and he had just told me it was crazy at this place where I was. So he had to go into some little room, you know, where they had these cleaning things, and he was squished in, sitting there with his laptop like this. Yeah, hello, you know, and she's like, oh, you're a normal person. And I think it's important that people also have that feeling that you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to, I work with all kinds of people. You don't have to be an expert. But what you need is to have an open mind, and you need to just be willing to take in the information. So from there on, anything can really happen.
Love that. Thank you so much for that. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I know you're super busy, and you know, you've taken this time out of your, you know, super busy life to actually just be here and you know, really show everyone how she does it, you know. So thank you for spending time with us.
Yeah, well, thank you, Kimberly, so much for having me. It's amazing to be able to talk to you and to work together. I love it. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. See you soon. And everyone, there's a worksheet down below, so download your worksheet and get moving. Implementation is the key, so get moving.